Welcome to Hannity. Welcome to 2016. And tonight, with the Iowa caucuses only 4 weeks away, candidates on both sides of the aisle are pounding the campaign trail. Now, earlier today, Texas Senator Ted Cruz officially kicked off his 6-day bus tour in the Hawkeye State. His campaign is calling it the, quote, Cruisin' to Caucus Tour. Joining us now, the man himself, 2016 Republican presidential hopeful, Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, how's the tour going? Looks like you got a big crowd behind you right now.
Well, Sean, good evening. It's great to be with you. Yes, this has been incredible. We're on the first day of a 6-day barnstorming tour through the state of Iowa. We're doing 28 counties in 6 days. We started in Boone County, then we were in Carroll County. We're now here in Guthrie County. And I got to tell you, the energy, the enthusiasm that we're seeing on the ground has been incredible. I mean, what we're seeing all across Iowa and really all across the country is we're seeing conservatives coming together, conservatives uniting, and that is tremendously encouraging because if conservatives unite, we win.
You are up by 9 points in the CBS poll in Iowa. You're tied in another poll with Donald Trump. How important is, look at the polls nationally. Trump has led for a significant portion of this campaign. You have come up in the last month dramatically. How important is that you get this win in Iowa?
Well, listen, what is important is that we continue to unify conservatives. You know, we're not spending a whole lot of time worrying about national polls. Historically, they've been very poor predictors of who the nominee is. You know, you look in prior elections, Rudy Giuliani led the national polls for a year. He won 0 states. What matters is who earns the votes on Election Day. And this election starts, as it always does, with the first 4 states, with Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada. We are all in all 4 states. We're all in Iowa. We're all in New Hampshire. We're all in South Carolina. We're all in Nevada. Now, there are a bunch of candidates in this race that have to win Iowa or their campaign is over. There are other candidates that have to win New Hampshire or their campaign is over. We don't view any of the early states as must-win for us, but we are competing hard to try to win every one of them if possible, and I believe we're going to do well in the first 4 states. And then 10 days after South Carolina is Super Tuesday, is the so-called SEC primary. It's states like Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas. I think Super Tuesday is going to be an incredible day for us.
With the rise in polls comes the hundreds of thousands of dollars now that are against you in negative ads and the criticism from your opponents. Yeah. Donald Trump, not many evangelicals come from Cuba. One candidate suggested that if you were elected, that in fact it could lead to polygamy, trying to take away your conservative credentials. I'm not sure if you heard that, but what is your reaction? And on the campaign trail, are you warning the people of Iowa, telling them, hey, you're going to hear a lot of awful stuff about me?
Well, listen, just a few weeks ago, almost every candidate in the Republican field was attacking Donald Trump. Today, almost every candidate in the Republican field is attacking me. I guess that suggests something has changed in this race. And I recognize that a lot of the candidates are getting very, very worried. The Washington cartel is panicking. And the reason is very simple. They're panicking because of the men and women in this room. They're panicking because of the men and women across Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina, Nevada, and across the country. The Washington cartel is panicking because conservatives are uniting. In past elections, what Washington's tried to do is divide and splinter conservatives, and what we're seeing is conservatives are uniting. Now, the next couple of months, we're going to see millions of dollars of false attack ads as the Washington cartel gets more and more terrified. Our focus is going to be don't engage in the mudslinging, don't engage in the games. Just focus on telling the truth with a smile, focusing on my positive, optimistic, conservative vision. We can turn America around if we get back to the free market principles and constitutional liberties that built this country.
You know, there's even the New York Times, interesting, because they weren't attacking you early in the race, but as your poll numbers have gone up, specifically in Iowa, now they're saying that your tax plan is a radical plan because it relies a lot on a value-added tax or a national sales tax. And I wanted to give you a chance to explain that because I don't think a lot of people understand it because most Americans have been indoctrinated into only understanding an income tax.
Well, sure. And you're right. From the New York Times' perspective, if you're a big government guy that wants power in Washington, then you better believe the Cruz flat tax is a radical plan from their perspective. Because my flat tax plan is very simple. For a typical family of 4, First $36,000 in income, you pay nothing, zero, nada. Above $36,000, you pay a simple flat tax of 10%. That means every American, we can fill out our taxes on a postcard, and we can abolish the IRS. Now, on the business side, we eliminate the corporate income tax. We eliminate the payroll tax. We eliminate the death tax, which hammers farmers and ranchers and small businesses, and we eliminate the Obamacare taxes. And we replace them with a simple 16% business flat tax. That will produce incredible economic growth and jobs. It will raise wages. It will raise after-tax income for Americans of every income level. And for folks who want to learn more about the details of the Cruz simple flat tax, you can read the full white paper. You can look at the numbers. You can see the details at tedcruz.org, tedcruz.org. Go read about the tax plan. Sign up, volunteer, contribute. Our focus is on empowering and energizing the grassroots. And let me mention one other thing, Sean, about the New York Times. You know, a number of weeks ago, a New York Times columnist wrote a column saying, anybody but Cruz. And the columnist said, please, you can vote for any other Republican, anyone, but Cruz terrifies us. And listen, if you're a big government, New York Times kind of guy, that's right. But my response when the New York Times ran that attack column, I simply said, thank you for the endorsement, because the American people are tired of the failed big government policies of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and the New York Times, and we need to bring power back to the people.
It is interesting to... I can hear you getting a good response. It is interesting, though, to watch the media coverage. For example, you made a pretty good joke on the campaign trail when they brought up the issue of gay marriage. And you said, no, you've said all throughout that this is something you believe should be handled in the states. But the way it was, you know, politicos tried to portray it as they have a secret tape, but it's exactly what you said on Jay Leno and on the Colbert Show. So it wasn't any different. What was so secret about it?
Well, look, it's the media playing mischief, and it's other campaigns who are panicking. And so they had this secretly recorded tape of me at a fundraiser saying, as you noted, word for word, what I've said publicly many, many times, which is that the question was asked if my top priority would be going after gay marriage. I said, my top priority is defending the Constitution. And what was striking is that was word for word what I said on Stephen Colbert, and I observed, look, I know that there are not that many viewers watching Colbert, but if this is some secret plan, saying it on national television is an awfully strange strategy for rolling out a secret plan. Yeah. When it comes to marriage, I've been proud to defend marriage. When it comes to life, I've been proud to defend life. When it comes to religious liberty, no one has fought harder. And that's why we've seen conservatives like Steve King, like Bob Vanderplaats, like Dr. James Dobson, all coming together and saying Ted is the strongest defender of life, of marriage, of religious liberty, and the Constitution in the race. That's why conservatives are uniting behind us.
The issue of immigration is so key this year, and both Marco Rubio and Donald Trump have gone after you. Trump said you copied his immigration plan. You had that battle in the last debate with Marco Rubio, and your statement was, I oppose legalization today, tomorrow, and forever. Meaning what? That we build the fence, that we secure the border. What happens to the 11 million people that are here illegally?
We enforce the law. Existing law provides that if we apprehend someone here illegally, we deport them. That's what existing law is, and we have a president, Barack Obama, who refuses to follow the law. I've spent my whole life fighting to defend the rule of law, fighting to defend the Constitution. When it comes to immigration, 2013 was really, as Reagan would say, a time for choosing. It's when a line was drawn in the sand. On one side, you had Barack Obama and you had Chuck Schumer, and you had a whole lot of establishment Republicans in Washington lining up behind a massive amnesty plan. On the other side of the line were people like Steve Sessions, were people like Iowa's own Steve King, and I stood with Jeff Sessions and Steve King, and we led the fight to defeat the Gang of Eight amnesty plan, to preserve the rule of law, and to fight to secure our borders. And you know, it's interesting, a lot of presidential candidates suddenly have discovered illegal immigration is an issue. I'll point out, Sean, you remember that 2013 fight. You were standing there leading the fight. Mark Levin was leading the fight. Rush was leading the fight. You look at the men and women standing on that debate stage in 2013 when Obama was on the verge of getting his amnesty win. Most of the other men and women on that debate stage were nowhere to be found. Yeah. And, you know, the scriptures give us a good guide for telling what people really believe. The scriptures say, You shall know them by their fruits. If someone claims to be really strong on illegal immigration, my question is, where were you in the Gang of Eight? Did you stand and fight with the American people, or were you somewhere else doing something else?
Last question. Politics can be ugly. The Washington Post cartoon going after your daughters was one of the ugliest things I've seen in this campaign cycle. Did you get the proper apology, and where do you stand with them?
Well, look, no, the Post hasn't apologized. You're right. They had a cartoonist who did a cartoon making fun of my two little girls. Caroline is 7, Catherine is 5.
They're attacking 7- and 5-year-old girls. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
That's despicable.
It really was, and I'll tell you, it wasn't fun over Christmas, sitting down with my daughters and explaining to them that they had been drawn in a newspaper as dancing monkeys. And you know, all of us were taught when we were in kindergarten, don't pick on 5-year-old little girls. And yet somehow the Washington Post can't figure that out. You know what it did, Sean? It revealed their true colors, which is they're willing even to attack children because they hate conservatives so much. I was glad the Post pulled the cartoon. It was the right thing to do. But we ought to follow a simple rule. Leave the kids out of it. Don't pick on my kids. Don't pick on Marco's kids. Don't pick on Hillary's daughter or her grandchildren. Leave our kids out of it. Focus on the candidates.
One of the things I've always said about Barack Obama, he seems to be a good father, and his daughters seem lovely. I think that is the lowest of low. Thanks for being with us, Senator. Have fun in Iowa. We'll catch up with you on the campaign trail. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Sean. God bless.